News Special Report. Now, live and on your side from 12 News, this is Inauguration 1990.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to history right here on the Capitol Square in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, there is a sea of people gathered here on the north side of the Capitol to witness the beginning of a new chapter of state government and historical moment for our nation. Just a few minutes ago, the crowd started cheering the arrival of Jesse Jackson here. He is seated in the bleachers, the carpeted platform behind us, where all of the dignitaries are assembled to watch this notable event.
There's a shot of Jackson now. Maynard Jackson also here on the podium near Jesse Jackson. But this is not Jackson's day. This is Doug Wilder's day. And if you've been to the Capitol grounds, if you've been to a previous inaugural, you've never seen anything like this one. If you're not here, don't come. You won't get here.
This is a tight squeeze, the largest crowd ever assembled for any event here on the Capitol grounds. Approximately 15 to 20,000 people.
That was the estimate going in. As we look around and we look across the street over to the old City Hall on this building, people are lined against the building across the street because they physically cannot get on these grounds anymore.
It's wonderful to see whole families here. People have their kids on their shoulders, and they are here from all over the world. We have dignitaries, ambassadors representing countries everywhere. The Soviet Union has an ambassador, Japan, Africa, the Netherlands. It's an international event.
It's something to see. We had a moment ago a shot from top of the State Office building, which will give you an idea. There it is. We have 3 cameras set up here at Capitol Square. This is on top of the State Office building. Of course, Sabrina and I got one of them. And there's one roving around down on the ground. We've given it to our biggest, huskiest camera person because he's going to need all of that brawn to get through this crowd. It is packed. It has been for hours.
We are going to be here for the next couple of hours covering the event from beginning to end, the swearing in, the gun salute, the flyover, speech, and the parade.
But it was an evening to remember last night. The official inauguration began with the star-studded gala over at the mosque, followed by a reception at the Jefferson Sheridan. As well as that town reporter Bernie Simmons got the assignment.
No doubt about it, this is one of the biggest weekends in Virginia's history in a long time. No less than 15 limousines glided up in front of the Richmond Mosque last night, and those were only the ones we saw. To disgorge ladies in sequined satin and furs, and gentlemen in the required tuxedos and bow ties. Looking at all the finery, one man was heard to remark that this is definitely a two-gown, two-fur weekend. Inside, the mosque was packed to the rafters, every seat occupied. Lieutenant Governor-elect Donald Byer and his wife arrived, then returning Attorney General Mary Sue Terry, and then outgoing Governor Gerald Baliles and First Lady Jeannie Baliles. But the biggest ovation, however, was reserved for Governor-elect Wilder, who arrived looking tired, but ready to take on the first of what would be a grueling weekend of official inaugural events. Friday night's gala, emceed by Virginian Tim Reed and his wife Daphne, began with a performance of the Strolling Silver Strings from the Norfolk school system. Other entertainment was provided by the choir from Virginia Union University, which is the governor-elect's alma mater, the Richmond Symphony Orchestra, Ramsey Lewis and Billy Taylor, a welcome visit from NBC's Willard Scott, members of the singing Carter family, and the comely Leslie Uggams, who evidently inspired the governor-elect to declare once again one of his intentions for his administration.
In terms of family and youth, as many of you know, I do intend to let that be one of the first proclamations I issue as governor, declaring the decade of the 90s the decade of family and youth.
While the gala was winding down at the mosque, the inaugural reception was gearing up at the Jefferson Sheridan Hotel. There, the crowd swelled to maximum proportions by late evening, so much so that the Richmond Fire Department had to clear the stairway of people so that the governor-elect could enter. After several rounds of ruffles and flourishes, courtesy of the Yorktown Drum and Fife Corps, the new Democratic administration arrived. Donald Byer and his wife, Mary Sue Terry, and finally the man everyone was waiting for, the governor-elect, who demonstrated once again his superb ability to work a crowd. certainly is only a small portion of that which will be at the state capitol Saturday for the swearing-in ceremony. No standing room, but everyone apparently willing to stand anyway to see history made. And so with the arrival of Governor-elect L. Douglas Wilder, the kickoff for this weekend of inaugural events has begun. This is a grand moment in the Commonwealth of Virginia, in the history of this proud state, the 66th governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we're glad we were here. I'm Bernie Simmons at the Jefferson Sheridan Hotel.
There was some talk that the governor might actually perform at the gala and
I heard
sing
that
a number.
sing, right.
I guess he's saving his voice for
It would have been a highlight of Bernie's report if that had happened, I'm sure.
It would have been, but it was quite an impressive affair nonetheless. We want to mention that we have some company. We're in good company up here on this platform. We're joined by UVA political analyst, Professor Dr. Larry Sabato, who will provide some color and analysis to this event today.
You've never seen a crowd like this, have you?
Never. This is the largest crowd I've ever seen inaugural stretching back to 1961, and it's the most exciting. You know, we've talked so much about history over the last few months. You can feel the history here. You can feel what people are thinking about it. And it's really remarkable. I think this crowd knows that 100 years from now, Doug Wilder will be one of the couple of dozen governors remembered from this century. That makes it really special and important.
I think there's a sense of history among the crowd. They feel it like we all do. Let's mention, as we mentioned the crowd, the security that is in effect here. If you see the police officers that are lining what will be the parade route, this is right in front of the podium. An estimated 200 or so are here. There's a helicopter that keeps circling over. We don't know who that's with, but it's probably the protection.
We had to show our credentials just to get to our platform here, and people who want to go up and congratulate the governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general after they are sworn in at the reception here at the Capitol will have to undergo they'll go through a medical detector.
Of course, Jesse Jackson being here brings in additional security personnel, and it is such a friendly,
we want to also
overwhelming
mention,
crowd.
that our reporter Jim Babb is working the crowd, talking to the dignitaries and inviting guests who are come from all over the world to this event. Jim.
Can we see Jim?
Yes, I'm over here, Sabrina. Good afternoon. I'll tell you, one of the big benefits of this job is you get to be present on historic occasions such as this, and you get to go and get the swell souvenirs. Mike, take a look at this. This is one of the semi-official Virginia inaugural buttons. They're being hawked down here at Capitol Square for $3 each. Who knows, this might be worth big money one day, so I'm saving it. The dignitaries are filling up the special seating, the VIP platform. There, just at the north end of the Capitol, we spotted Jesse Jackson and Mayor Barry of Washington come in just a few minutes ago. There are judges, politicians of every stripe and description here today, Democrat and Republican, and a lot of lucky folks, too. These folks are lucky enough to have front row seats for today's inaugural. Sir, what's your name? Where are you from?
John E. Powers from Danville, Virginia.
You're Reverend Powers.
Yes, right.
You must be pretty excited today.
Yes.
What thoughts are going through your mind today, Reverend Powers?
Well, in fact, I hope that we can become more human in America. I feel that there's been too much brutality, and maybe if we can act more human, there will not be as much violence.
Thank you for those thoughts. And you're from Richmond, are you not?
Yes, I am.
What's your name?
Betty Harris.
Ms. Harris, are you excited to be here today?
Yes, I am.
Do you know Doug Wilder from a long time ago?
Yes, I do. I've known him for a number of years.
Number of years. You think he's going to be a good governor?
I think he should be. He has what it takes.
You've got a front row seat. You're very, very fortunate. And you are from Lovingston, I understand. What's your name?
I'm Agnes Fishback from Livingston, Virginia.
And when did you get here this morning, Miss Fishback?
Around 10 o'clock.
Around 10 o'clock. You're lucky to have very good seats. What thoughts are going through your mind?
I'm glad to see in our country that we've gotten to the point that prejudice is not such an issue anymore, that we can go through this as a great nation.
What kind of governor do you think Douglas Wilder is going to be?
A very good governor. I was at his campaign headquarters and met with a lot of his people. I feel like he'll be an excellent governor.
Well, it should come, thank you very much. It should come as no surprise that the folks who are here are very excited. And we are looking forward to the day's activities. Gene, Sabrina, Larry?
Yes, we all share in that excitement, Jim. We want to mention that the actual swearing in is not scheduled to begin for about another 11 minutes, and it will be a pretty short ceremony and then the speech and parade. Shortly before our coverage began, our new slate of statewide officers assembled in the Jefferson Sheraton Hotel, and that's when Governor Belials was expected to hand over the keys to the executive mansion to Doug Wilder, his new home for the next 4 years.
We expect him to come to the VIP platform in just about 4 minutes, so let's take a break and we'll be right back and be prepared for the next governor.
More Virginia success stories. I'm Jess DuBois.
And I'm Mark Kress. One of our biggest success stories today is community banking.
And I think I know why. At your community bank, you're more than an account number. You're an individual with individual banking needs. The people at your community bank enjoy getting to know and serve you. Talk directly to the person who makes the decisions. And your community bank gives you everything you expect, including $100,000 in FDIC insurance.
The money you deposit in your community bank stays at work right in your neighborhood.
So for all the benefits and services, along with a more personalized banking environment, keep your business with your own community bank. In Chesterfield, People's Bank of Virginia. They're very friendly people who serve you from 3 locations in Chesterfield County. Ask about their free most ATM cards.
In Short Pump at 11500 West Broad, in Hanover near King's Charter at 11785 Sliding Hill Road, Commerce Bank of Virginia, meeting the financial needs of Virginia's finest people.
In Powhatan, Midlothian, and Cartersville, Central Virginia Bank. You've got a good bank here at home. Strength, service, involvement. Central Virginia Bank.
In Petersburg, Colonial Heights, and Chester, the Community Bank, home of the Golden Opportunity Account. Turn 50 and receive free checking with interest, free bank services, and much more.
And in Mechanicsville, the Hanover Bank, offering no service charge to businesses who qualify, and the highest money market rates in Hanover.
More Virginia success stories,
so you'll know the best.
Imagine pouring 5,000 quarts of oil every day. That's what Merchants Tire and Auto Centers has done for over 50 years. And when you change that much oil, you can change it for less. Like oil, new filter, and 10-point lubrication, specially priced just $12.88. And a complete front-end alignment is just $18.88 at Merchants. Come to Merchants and get great service for a change.
Merchants Tire, for service that you trust, guaranteed.
Welcome back, everyone, to our coverage of the 1989 inaugural ceremony. I'm Sabrina Squire.
I don't know whether you can hear us or not. I know we can't hear us. There's a speaker right behind us that is carrying this wonderful band throughout this large crowd, and sometimes they hit some real heavy notes, and it kind of vibrates through the stand here.
We're looking at some of the people coming in now. Former Governor Linwood Holton arriving.
Chuck Robb got here just a few moments ago.
Along with his wife, Linda Robb.
And Governor Wilder should be here very shortly. Larry, there's more history to this than we touched on a while ago.
There's a tremendous amount of history. You know, ever since the election, whenever you run into national news people, they always say, we're flabbergasted. How could this happen in Virginia? In Virginia, of all places. What they don't understand is that it's sublimely appropriate that it happened in Virginia. Not just because of the irony of Virginia being the cradle of the Confederacy and the home of massive resistance, but also because in Virginia, race relations were always better than they were in the Deep South. Race relations were civil, unlike Alabama, unlike Georgia, unlike Mississippi. And it was Virginia that made most of the history in the early days of the Republic. So it's just so appropriate, I think, that it's Virginia making the history again, doing what even trend-setting California refused to do twice in the 1980s, and that was elect a black governor. So I think it's really an important day. It's hard to overemphasize the importance of the day.
I think most people who've spent any time here would agree that there is a certain civility and politeness.
That's Virginia.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what we have a reputation for.
This entire election, the campaign, and the inaugural festivities have just been unprecedented in a number of ways in terms of crowd attendance, expense.
That's right.
Considerable expense.
That's right. You know, one other factor, too, if you look out at this crowd, this is a real biracial coalition. It really does make you proud to be here, to be a Virginian, to see this kind of thing. Remember, Doug Wilder got 41% of the black vote. up in New York City, where they were electing a black mayor the same day. New York thinks it's a great center of enlightenment, and only 30% of whites in New York voted for David Dinkins. But in Virginia, Doug Wilder truly had a biracial coalition, and it's here. It's right here in this yard.
Huddled around the monument of Jefferson Davis.
And Harry Flood Byrd.
And Harry Flood Byrd. It is quite an event. There have been several inaugurals through the development of course, Wilder being the 66th governor, that have made history for one reason or another. It was interesting to me, you mentioned Harry Byrd, 1926. That was the first inaugural to be broadcast on radio live, and the first one with the PA system. And of course they've continued since then, but before then there was no PA system, and so you had to have a governor with strong lungs to speak to the crowd, and you had to be here.
Has made this a mass event.
That's right.
Popular event. Let's go to Jim Babb and see who he's found in the crowd to chat with.
Sabrina, I'm certainly glad that I don't have to shout over the noise here. The band has been piped through the PA system here. It appears we will be able to hear what Governor Wilder has to say today in his inaugural address. And some more of the folks who are here, who are fortunate to be in this restricted seating area, are here with front row seats. And you're from Washington, are you not?
Yes, Washington.
What's your name?
Marilyn Preston Killingham.
Ms. Killingham, now you work with the Fairfax County Schools and a pioneering role yourself, didn't you?
Oh, yes, I did. Way back in the early 60s, I was county supervisor of business education, right after the schools were integrated. So this is indeed a great day for me to see a governor of Virginia.
What will be going through your mind when you're watching Doug Wilder being sworn in?
Many memories, many of which I'm very thankful for. Memories of times when a particular principal blocked the door and said I wouldn't come in to supervise his students, to a day when I can sit here at the capital of the Commonwealth of Virginia and see a governor sworn in as governor of this great state.
So it's an historic moment from a history book standpoint and also from a personal standpoint for you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. A great day.
We're so glad to have you here. Now,
Thank you so much, Jim.
Hope you enjoy the ceremonies. You're from Richmond, are you not, sir?
Yeah, Richmond, yes.
What's your name?
Leslie Cooper, my name.
Mr. Cooper, tell me about what you're thinking.
Well, this is one of the greatest historical events that I've ever recalled is this. And just to think, as a teenager, he was only 3 blocks from where I live. He lived at 28th and P, and I lived at 30th and Q Street. And I never even dreamed that he would be in the position that he is in today. Because he was playful as a teenager, but never dreamed that he'd be in a position.
You knew Doug Wilder as a teenager, right?
That's right, yes. But I've never dreamed that he'd be in the position that he is in today.
What kind of a young man was he, and did you think he would be governor someday?
Never dreamed he'd be governor. He was just a playful teenager. All I remember him as a playful, very playful.
I know that I saw his yearbook, his high school yearbook, and he called himself Duggo. Is that what he called himself in the neighborhood?
Yeah, that's what Duggo. That's right. But as I said, he was just a playful teenager. I never dreamed that he would be in this position.
Okay.
Never dreamed of it.
Well,
thank God for it.
There's the inside scoop there on Doug Wilder as a teenager, and we were glad to bring it to you. Gene and Sabrina.
Oh boy,
playful
who would
teenager.
have dreamed that their neighbor would one day be governor? This is a glorious day.
It's interesting about all the neighbors. Wilder is the only governor that we can find in history that was born and raised in Richmond.
Come a long way from the days when he waited tables and shined shoes
That's
here
right.
in the capital of the Confederacy. The day began, this beautiful day began with a prayer service, an interdenominational service at St. Paul's Episcopal Church, which is located just a block off Capitol Square. Our reporter was Brenda Hughes. She was there for the service this morning.
People were here at 7 o'clock this morning, and by 8:30 the line wrapped around the corner of the church.
This is a dream of mine to see Doug Wilder to be governor.
That dream shared by this 12-year-old.
It's the first black governor.
And this woman from Chicago.
Are you excited about what's happening? Thrilled. Emotionally so.
All here to see the old guard and the new. And as for the man of the hour, he seemed ready for the challenge.
I've worked a little bit till about 2:30 this morning, going over the state of the state, but other than that, I don't guess I could have slept too much anyway. So I'm feeling great.
Here's the state where the slave ships landed, and to go from the hull of a slave ship to governor of the state is a great American story. It's a great world story.
I wish my grandparents and my father were here to see it, but it's a huge day. We'll all have tears in our eyes.
This morning, at 5 in the morning, I'm so proud. I can't believe it.
This church itself itself helps put this day in perspective. St. Paul's Episcopal Church is known as the Church of the Confederacy. History of our state and our country is etched inside. Some of those who packed this church sat here. This is where Confederate President Jefferson Davis was sitting when he heard about the proposed evacuation of Richmond. General Robert E. Lee also worshipped here. This window is dedicated to him.
The day history is being made in Richmond, Virginia, down where the South begins. I'm just so happy to be a part of it.
The Reverend Dr. E.D. McCreary taught Doug Wilder when he was a student at Virginia Union. The subject was ethics.
We are all Virginians, no matter where we live. And we are looking to Capitol Square in Richmond for effective leadership.
It was a fitting beginning to an historic day. In Richmond, Brenda Hughes, Channel 12 News.
Such a poignant, moving
beautiful report.
in history. People are just overcome with emotion today, and rightly so. It's the fulfillment of a dream, as Benjamin Hooks, president of the NAACP, put it so eloquently this morning in a release that he handed us, that was handed to us as we came in here. I think it's worth noting that it is a dream weekend. We are celebrating the inauguration of the nation's first black governor. At the same time, the nation prepares to celebrate the birthday of slain civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King, tomorrow, the federal holiday.
At this point, we're running just a few minutes behind schedule. We expect Governor to step onto the podium at any moment right now. We can see House Speaker A.L. Philpott standing there waiting for him. I believe that's Philpott with his back towards us.
He will preside over these ceremonies this morning.
And Wilder will be sworn in by Lewis Powell, the retired U.S. Justice. He will not be sworn in by Harry Carrico of the State Supreme Court. So those
Something
two go
symbolic
back.
in that.
That's right. They were both here during the days of massive resistance and desegregation in Virginia. And Powell at that time was chairman of the Richmond City School Board. We have Governor Blyles there in the picture right now. I think at any moment we will see the three, Governor Byer, Mayor Sue Terry, the Attorney General, and Governor L. Douglas Wilder come to the podium.
It's interesting that right after he is sworn in, Wilder will go to work and sign some executive orders, and it will be a lot of work ahead. He has some real challenges facing him, none the least of which is a budget deficit for the state. Is that right, Larry?
Larry, that's a big deficit, almost $1 billion.
Almost $1 billion, and you're absolutely right. That's a very critical issue facing him almost immediately. How to close that gap, how to make sure he can get Virginia back into economic good times. But on the other hand, there are also some positive aspects to it. You know, if you're governor, if you've gone through what you've gone through to become governor, you'll want to have to make choices. You want to get the opportunity to make choices. You can make them one of two ways. Either you have a lot of money to spend so that you can spread the money out, or you have to cut back and you have to make choices about where you're going to cut. So I think Doug Wilder, in a way, will enjoy doing that sort of thing. He'll be able to put his imprint on Virginia government.
We have action.
Joint Assembly will come to order. The General Assembly will arise and receive the inaugural committee, who will present the Governor-elect, the Honorable Lawrence Douglas Wilder, the Lieutenant Governor-elect, the Honorable Douglas Turnoff Byer, Jr., and the Attorney General-elect, the Honorable Mary Sue Terry.
Mr. Speaker, in behalf of the inaugural committee, I have the honor to present the Governor-elect, the Honorable Lawrence Douglas Wilder. Mr. Speaker, the Lieutenant Governor-elect, the Honorable Donald Sternoff Byer, Jr. Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General-elect, the Honorable Mary Sue Terry.
The Joint Assembly will rise and be led in prayer by the Reverend Joe B. Fleming, Senior Minister, 3rd Baptist Church, Portsmouth, Virginia.
Let us pray. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far along the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray. Dear God, we thank you that thou hast forgiven us of our corporate and individual sins. We are grateful, dear God, that we have the golden privilege of being a part of this momentous occasion, the inauguration of Lawrence Douglas Wilder as the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. We thank you, Lord, that the old order changeth, yielding place to new. And we thank you for how you fulfill yourself in so many ways. On this day, we adore thee. We thank you for breaking into our lives, changing our courses, and giving us new perspectives for an old dominion. We thank you, dear God, that you are going to permit this Commonwealth to become a model of what it means to be brothers and sisters and to be concerned for the least of these. Thank you, Lord, for all that shall be done this day. And we do pray that thy Spirit will overwhelm Douglas Wilder, that you will sustain him, that you will sustain the Lieutenant Governor, and that you will also keep the Attorney General, and that they, working together with those who have been elected by the people, will provide a model of what it means to be a true citizen on this your earth. In the name of him who goes before us, directing us and determining our destiny and directing us to duty, we pray. Amen.
God Bless America will be performed by Simon Estes, soloist, Metropolitan Opera Company.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you very much, Mr. Estes. The oath of office will now be administered to the Attorney General, the Honorable Mary Sue Terry, by the Honorable John D. Hooker, the retired judge of the 21st Judicial Circuit.
Will you hold up your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Mary Sue Terry,
I, Mary Sue Terry,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all the duties incumbent upon me as Attorney General of Virginia, to the very best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations. I'll see you 4 years from now.
Yes, indeed.
The oath of office will now be administered to the Lieutenant Governor, the Honorable Donald Sternoff Byer, Jr., by the Honorable Elizabeth B. Lacey, excuse me. Elizabeth B. Lacey. They look remarkably alike, both are beautiful ladies. Justice of the Supreme Court of Virginia.
I didn't mean to do all those.
Would you raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me? I, Donald Sternoff Byer, Jr.,
I, Donald Sternoff Byer, Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all the duties incumbent upon me as Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, according to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations.
The oath of office will now be administered to the Governor of Virginia, His Excellency Lawrence Douglas Wilder, by the Honorable Louis F. Powell, Jr., retired Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States.
Hold your hand on the family Bible and repeat after me. I,
Lawrence Douglas Wilder,
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all of the duties incumbent upon me as Governor of Virginia, according to the best of my ability. So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much. It's a great moment.
This is a great day for Virginia.
Thank you.
Great day.
God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
These are my daughters.
We stay here the rest of the time. I have the honor to present to the sovereign people of Virginia the new governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, His Excellency Lawrence Douglas Wilder.
Mr. Justice Powell, Mr. Justice Carrico, to the Lieutenant Governor, to the Attorney General, members of the General Assembly, distinguished guests, family and friends, and my fellow Virginians. We gather here today for what is both a culmination and a continuation of the democratic process. 4 years ago, I stood on this spot to assume the second highest office in the Commonwealth. Today, because of your faith in our efforts, I stand before you as Chief Executive of this state. And now, in keeping with the sanctioned privilege extended to all governors, it is my honor to address the people of the Commonwealth and to express to my fellow citizens the profound gratitude and deep sense of purpose that I feel in fulfilling your expectations. Candor and honesty would have me admit to you that I was not blessed with the foresight to know that this moment was in the open when I stood here in 1985. Having been tested in the political crucible of trial and cross-examination, I have been rendered a verdict by having had delivered unto me the greatest outpouring of votes ever accorded any candidate for this great office. And for that, I shall be eternally grateful. And be assured, I shall demonstrate that gratitude during the next 4 years by being a governor who will be beholden to but one special interest: the welfare of Virginians, all Virginians. But my gratitude is not of such recent origin. It is said, to whom much is given, much shall be expected. And I will be the first to admit that I have been the beneficiary of much through no endeavors of my own. While I have indeed worked hard and performed to the best of my abilities, I've also had a few breaks along the way. Indeed, in every walk, in every period of my life, there have been many far more deserving and justly entitled to the fruits that wholesome opportunities present. And yet, for many, those chances never came, and the bell of fulfillment never tolled for them. Providence indeed has directed my course, and I shall remain ever mindful of my good fortune. In recent years, Virginia, too, has been blessed with good fortune. The progress and the prosperity we have enjoyed during this period has enabled us to reclaim the respected achievements of time past. And looking to our accomplishments in education, economic development, the environment, employment, housing, or transportation, we find that Virginia ranks among those states in the vanguard of forward-looking movement. Not surprisingly, the ensuing pride in seeing our state climb in rank among our sister states in the nation and in preeminence among the southern states, cause Virginians everywhere to feel good about our cause, our mission, and our success in forging Virginia's new mainstream. That commitment to looking ahead rather than behind, of building rather than destroying, of building and bringing people together rather than pitting them against each other, that commitment also calls for me to address you with measured sobriety in facing conditions in the Commonwealth today. And I will comment further in that regard when I address the General Assembly on Monday. But for this moment, let me assure you that I do not intend to participate in bringing to a halt the momentum to which the people of Virginia have grown accustomed, supported, and enjoyed. Cicero, in parting observation, noted that a commonwealth is not any collection of human beings, but an assembly of people joined in agreement on justice and partnership for the common good, and where a community, and in that community, civility must reign, and all must live peacefully together. And we know what happened to Cicero's Rome, which could not pass on the heritage of its past to the people of its future. But we have done so. We can do so, and we shall do so. These are times when the people of our state and of our country can feel the resurgence of the dominance of the individual spirit, which provides and proves daily to be unconquerable. Whirlwinds of rebellion shake all shores where tyranny once ruled, and we are indeed redeemed in our deeply held and treasured beliefs in the development of the high possibility of the individual spirit, those who breathe the sweetness of liberty's air. At this time and in this place, where so many great names in American history have trod, we renew this celebration of freedom in the full and certain knowledge that with it comes great responsibility. Without question, much tighter economic times which loom in the days ahead will test to the fullest our ability to make hard decisions, to lead, and to govern. But progress will be possible. Opportunity can be expanded. Freedom can be increased. Resources employed in the past for the finer things in life can be, and will have to be, deployed for the more serious of our needs. For we know that freedom is but a word for the man or woman who needs and cannot find a job. Freedom, as it has been written, is a dream deferred when it dries up like a raisin in the sun or stinks like rotten meat. Freedom is meaningless when a woman's right to choose is regulated outside the dictates of her own faith and conscience. And freedom is impotent when there is intolerance to those who hold moral and political beliefs different from our own. Freedom is restricted when labor and management cannot reach agreements. Freedom is impossible for the uneducated who try to live in today's complex world. Freedom is restrained for business and for industry when our network of transportation is allowed to deteriorate. Freedom for the police is denied when their resources are unduly limited. Freedom for the people is assaulted when lawful authority is abused. Freedom for the next generation is mortgaged when our environment is destroyed, and as has been proven throughout recorded history, freedom is nowhere to be found when the people are overtaxed and overregulated. As we salute the idea of freedom today, let us pledge to extend that same freedom to others tomorrow. Let us fulfill the perfect promise of freedom and liberty left as a legacy by those who founded this Commonwealth. And let us likewise be thankful that while our country gave birth to a freedom long denied and delayed for all who love freedom, the belief in these dreams held by those forebears was passed from generation to generation and spawned the seeds that propagated the will and the desire to achieve it. We are on hallowed ground here today
And the steps we take from this place must be steps of honor. The words we issue must be words of wisdom. The laws we pass must be laws of mercy and of justice. And the faith we possess must be true to the Almighty. In meeting these challenges, and they will be difficult, I ask your help and that of God. I do not shrink from the enormity of the task. In 6 million Virginians, there is endless courage and enormous strength. In the coming years, we will need it all. As we all know, as complexities of human relationships increase, the power to govern them also increases. The proper use of that power must always be subordinated to the public good, and that shall be uppermost in the hearts and minds of those to whom those powers are justly delegated by the people. We shall not pause, we shall not rest upon our laurels, for we have not fulfilled our destinies. In the coming years, we must persist and make every citizen of our Commonwealth the subject of our interest and concern. We must insist that every agency of our government utilize every proper and effective instrument to carry out the will of the people. For as with any democracy, the will of the people is supreme. An administration can only be effective when it works for all of the people. Our prosperity can only continue if our leaders and even private citizens stay constantly advised of all of the relevant facts. In turn, we can expect to receive your support as well as your constructive criticism when you receive the true information from those of us who serve as your trustees. But I am undaunted by that which lies ahead, for as we have shown at other points in our history, what we can accomplish when we fearlessly face the future. We have and we shall shun the defects of destruction and work to achieve the highest degree of improvement and the status that we can achieve, and we are capable of doing that. For we have a common concern, and we share the responsibility. But I see a Virginia of hope and happiness, of mothers and fathers building and nurturing families, and those hearthstones where the cradle of childhood is rocked with wholesome expectation for the future, a future where an education is within intellectual and financial reach, a future in which adequate and affordable housing is possible, a future in which nothing is impossible. I see a place where crime is not only reduced and our streets and neighborhoods are safe, but the root causes thereof, illiteracy, poverty, and joblessness are stamped out. I see a Virginia where the homeless can find shelter, where hunger cannot and does not stalk those unable to fend for themselves. We must set the priorities in the coming years, and specifically we must be partners in working toward a revived economy, a healthy and a thriving economy that provides equal opportunity for all Virginians. And while the flow may have slowed, Virginia's new mainstream is far from drying up, and it shall be the task of this administration to ensure that a rising tide of prosperity and opportunity is possible for the future. Some describe conditions in our Commonwealth today in dismal terms, and yet one must question the resolve and the reserve in many instances of those who have called upon to make no greater sacrifices than those who have preceded us. Despite our economic slowdown, we are living in the best of our times, and they can be even better, and they will be better. If you will forgive me a moment of nostalgia, we mark today not a victory of party or the accomplishments of an individual, but the triumph of an idea as old as America, as old as the God who looks out for us all. It is the idea expressed so eloquently from this great Commonwealth by those who gave shape to the greatest nation ever known, Jefferson, Madison, Mason, and their able colleagues. The idea that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, the right to life,
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The idea that shows forth in the concepts of freedom and opportunity, not only in Virginia, but more recently in the fresh new winds of Eastern Europe and the tumult of Panama. If these words about freedom are to be heard at all today, I hope they will be heard by the young people of this Commonwealth. I want them to know that opposition and oppression can be lifted, that discrimination can be eliminated, that poverty need not be binding, that disability can be overcome, and that the offer of opportunity in a free society carries with it the responsibility of hard work, the rejection of drugs and other false highs, and a willingness to work with others whatever their color or national origin. We've come far, but we have far to go. We've done much, but we have much to do. I ask for your energy, for your understanding, for your dedication, for your patience, and yes, for your prayers. 4 years ago, I said to the people of Virginia that I was proud to be a Virginian. I did not think then that my pride could ever be possibly greater and inferior. It isn't. But in reality, that pride does burst forth and lifts my voice and my spirit to acclaim, so that I can say to you today that I am a son of Virginia. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
Just a moment, we are scheduled to have the benediction. If we stay on schedule, it will be Vander Warner Jr. of Grove Avenue Baptist Church, who is supposed to come to the podium now.
Extended applause for Virginia's new governor.
Vander Warner Jr., pastor of Grove Avenue Baptist Church of Richmond, Virginia.
Will you pray with me? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. We come to you accepted in your beloved Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. Since the beginning of this Commonwealth, it has been clear that you govern in the affairs of men. We've come to ask that you so govern in our affairs all the days of our lives. Our Father, we give thee thanks for our governor and those who serve with him. Do continue to give him good, faithful, and loyal men and women to help him. I pray for his health and well-being. Let him be sustained by your unfailing and encouraging presence. May he be guided by your unerring word. Dear God, let the charm with which you have endowed him crown his administration with favor here and abroad. Keep him upright and compassionate. May he remember the poor and do them good as our Savior did. May this be a better place to live and raise families because he governed here. Our Lord, you have given our brother Douglas Wilder a niche in history. We beseech thee, O God, that history will be a better story because you have done that. When he has to stand alone, give him courage without regret. And when it is all over, may he hear you say, well done, good and faithful servant. God save the governor. God save this Commonwealth. God save us everyone through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Virginia
the governor step forward and
That's it.
The 66th governor of the Commonwealth, Lawrence Douglas Wilder, and he is indeed a native son, born and raised and educated here in Richmond, born in the family's home on Church Hill, 28th and P, and established a successful law practice just a couple of miles away.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Commonwealth,
let's go back and see what they're doing.
1990 inaugural parade. On behalf of the 1990 inaugural committee, the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia, we congratulate Governor Wilder, Lieutenant Governor Byer, and Attorney General Perry.
People hang on you, and then you don't have any gloves.
I do. I got them back there.
As we get ready for the parade, Larry, any comments on this inaugural address?
Gene and Sabrina, I thought that was a stirring and eloquent speech. I think he made an allusion to the fiscal crisis. He didn't go into any details. He said he'd do that in a speech to the General Assembly on Monday, but he's already trying to prepare the citizenry for sacrifice. That was clear from the speech. This was a speech with, appropriately enough, emphasis on freedom. Emphasis on freedom. And it was an interesting mix of liberal and conservative freedoms. He talked about abortion rights, which played such an important role in his campaign.
And that brought his only applause.
Brought his strongest applause in the campaign. But he also mixed that with conservative ideas. He talked about freedom from too much taxation. And again, that's representative of that coalition that carried Doug Wilder to office.
Mainstream that
exactly.
He spoke about several times.
A third of his votes came from people who voted for George Bush a year ago. So we saw that reflected in the address.
How would you describe this mainstream?
The mainstream in Virginia today is still moderate conservative, but the emphasis is on moderate. It's much more centrist. People still want business-oriented government, but they want it with a human face. And I think that's exactly what Doug Wilder laid out in this inaugural address. I think we should also note at the end, Sabrina, earlier you mentioned that we're on the brink of celebrating the Martin Luther King holiday. There was a refrain in Doug Wilder's speech very similar to the Reverend King's I Have a Dream speech, in which Wilder said over and over, I see a Virginia that's better than the one that we have today. So I thought it was a touching speech, a good speech, and there were even national and international references in it, which indicate, I think, the hope of some in the Wilder entourage that this will not be his last campaign. There may be a national campaign up there, up ahead if he does a good job as governor of Virginia.
4 years from now, he would be a likely vice presidential candidate.
Ms. Thomasina C. Finger, Community Affairs Specialist for the Richmond Public
Underway.
Schools.
33 units that will march through Capitol Square, many of them representing affiliations that our new slate of statewide officers has had. They represent the schools that many of them attended. Delegation. That theme of family echoed so often throughout this speech.
I'll stress that. We might remind you that we intend to stay with the parade until its conclusion. So we hope you will stay with us at this point.
The crowd is starting to thin out a little bit. People are trying to get into position to see the parade.
Static in it, I can't hear it. Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
The parade is scheduled to last about 45 minutes.
Sabrina, can we pick up the...
This marcher is a representative from the unit Governor Wilder served with in the Korean War, during which he was awarded the Bronze Star Medal. His unit is now part of the 1st Battalion, 17th United States Infantry, currently assigned with the 6th Infantry Division, stationed at Fort Richardson, Alaska. This battalion, which is qualified to fight in the Arctic, was first organized in July 1861 at Fort Preble, Maine. Streamers on the battalion colors represent participation in campaigns during the Civil War, the Indian War, the War with Spain, the Philippine Insurrection, Mexican Expedition, World War II, Korean War, and in Vietnam. The colors also carry streamers for presidential unit citations from the United States, Korea, and the Philippines. The battalion command sergeant major, Anderson W. Townsend, is the keeper of the battalion colors and has brought them from Fort Richardson, Alaska to honor Governor Wilder today.
Yeah, it's a little chilly out here.
We are in one position here. Of course, we cannot move very easily. The announcer's in another position. We're waiting for the parade to come into your view and our view so we can enjoy it together.
We had the first unit, the delegation of youth and family, and we heard the announcer announce the Army delegation and note that Wilder did serve in the Army and received a
He
bronze.
served with Bronze Star at Fort Chop Hill. He was involved in saving some, or taking some 20 prisoners at that time, and there were other acts of heroism. He did not join the Army. He volunteered for the draft, as I recall, and served with distinction in the war in Korea. Mary Sue Terry. Regal, wouldn't you say, Sabrina, in her purple colors today?
She's very stylish today.
The crowd on the grounds now beginning to thin out a bit because even though they could see the ceremony at the podium, they cannot that easily see the parade from their vantage point. It's much easier seen on television, but of course it can't be seen on television until it moves into the view of the television cameras, which is yet to happen.
In just a few minutes, of course, the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general will enjoy a luncheon in the executive mansion with their family and some of the dignitaries who gathered here today.
Some 33 units will be in the parade, moving through in just a moment. There, while we're waiting for the parade, we enjoy your gems of wisdom. If you have a couple
Jim
more, you
Babb
can
is
drop
in the
on
crowd,
us.
and I think he has some words to share with
Jim
us.
has a gem of wisdom. Let's go to Jim.
I don't know if I have a gem of wisdom, Gene, but I have a couple of thoughts on it. It was a thematic speech, as we expected. Governor Wilder told us he would talk for about 20 minutes. In fact, it was about 16, and it was interrupted by applause 5 times. One, interesting, when he said that freedom cannot endure as long as women are not allowed to choose their own reproductive freedoms. And that got a real round of applause here. And, of course, the pro-choice coalition was one of the key elements that helped Doug Wilder win the election. Of course, one of many, as Larry Sabato has pointed out. Let's find out, though, I think the speech is meant for pundits such as ourselves, but also the people who are here. And your name is, you came here from Washington, Virginia, up in Rappahannock County, right?
Ethel Bailey.
Ethel Bailey, what did you think of the governor's speech?
I thought it was very, very good.
What are you going to remember from this speech? What one thing will you remember from this speech?
One thing I will remember from it,
From the speech. You need to hold your program down. I can't see your face, Miss Bailey. What was important in this speech to you?
that women have their own rights, for one thing, for the reproductions of the body and so forth.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Bailey. And what's your name, please? What's your name?
My name is Daisy Powell.
Miss Powell, what did you think was important in this speech?
All of it.
Okay, Miss Powell. Thank you so much. Back up to Gene and Sabrina here. I think the audience enjoyed the speech.
Thank you, Jim.
You're watching the Marching Wildcats from Armstrong High School. That's where Governor Wilder graduated.
That's where he attended high school. Here they come. The band is now moving. Some 33 units will be coming through, and this is among the first. We've already had 3 come through.
You can point out that he attended elementary school here in Richmond as well at George Mason.
Governor Wilder, born and raised in Churchill, came back to practice there.
The Falls Church High School Marching Jaguars from Falls Church, Virginia. Band director Steve Peters, drum major Julie Freeble.
School in Northern Virginia, but he was not born in the United States.
He was born in Trieste, Italy. He was, as they say, a military brat.
The Attorney General's Honor Band, Patrick County High School Marching Cougar Band.
Well, the public address announcer is one ahead of us here. But as we were saying about Donald Meyer, born in Trieste, Italy, son of his father, graduated from West Point. And he attended school in Falls Church.
Well, of course, Attorney General Mary Sue Terry, Virginia born, raised on a pig farm in Patrick County.
That's right.
The daughter of 2 school teachers.
Mary Sue Terry took the oath. She put her hand on a stack of books, the Bible, several New Testaments inscribed by some of her nieces and nephews, and a Torah. To our knowledge, that is the first time that the Hebrew Scriptures have been used in a swearing-in ceremony. But Ann Rippler, who is her talmid, is Jewish, and Mary Sue did that as an ecumenical gesture.
She will have a special reunion right after they leave the state capitol. Her mentor, who is Lieutenant Governor of Michigan, Martha Griffiths, is here. The two haven't seen each other in 22 years, so it will be quite a reunion for them. Married to intern with her when Martha Griffiths was a member of Congress, a U.S. representative. And there are lieutenant governors and attorney generals, mayors from across the nation here today.
Taking a long time for the crowd that wants to leave to even leave because the gates are not wide enough for them to file out. It's quite a show of humanity here, quite a day. Even though it's cold, the sun has shone throughout, and it's much warmer than the temperature probably would indicate. Governor Wilder still...
Shortly before noon, it was about 39 degrees at Byrd Airport. But it didn't feel that cold. In fact, it feels warmer than it did 4 years ago.
Yes, it does.
It must be the body heat from all the people listening.
Larry was reminding me that when, was it Rob's inauguration, Larry, the temperature was 19?
About 19 degrees.
Something like that.
It really froze that day.
It was cold. It was cold. And you know, Wilder's speech, Governor Wilder's speech was not as long as it might have been. It was only 12, 13 minutes, something like that.
That's right. It was short and punchy.
Short, but significant.
It really was.
I remember Governor Robb spoke a little longer, didn't he?
Yes, he did. That was a relatively lengthy inaugural, as I remember. I remember because we were counting the minutes. It was so cold.
It was cold, and that makes it seem all the longer, but their style, their speaking style, their whole pattern of communication is so different. So different. I think Wilder is going to demonstrate unusual personality throughout his administration. He seems to love it so much already. We've watched him on the ground
here. He is very charismatic and very, very much a people person.
We will have an opportunity to demonstrate that, and he just seems to be, with all of the pressure one would imagine that he would have, he doesn't show it. He doesn't show it.
Spoke with his Press Secretary Lawrence Wood and asked about his hobbies whenever he has any spare time. He says he loves to play bridge, golf, recently taken up horseback riding. And in fact, the night of the first debate, when a lot of people might have imagined that he would be a little bit tense, she said he was out horseback riding all day.
And he won that debate, so
it helps.
that may be advice to future candidates.
The 66th governor, L. Douglas Wilder, first governor, official governor, Patrick Henry in 1776. He had malaria when he was sworn in. There's some dispute in history as to whether he was actually on the grounds or whether he was sworn in from his sickbed.
A lot of people have wondered if Wilder will be the first governor to be without a first lady in the executive mansion, but that is not the case.
I believe we have the 29th Infantry Division, Light Infantry of the Army National Guard from Fort Belvoir, Virginia.
Headquarters, 29th Infantry Division Light.
That is confirmed.
Army National Guard, stationed at Fort Belvoir. Brigadier General Thomas T. Thompson III, Commander. Wilbur K. Benson, Command Sergeant Major. 29th Infantry Division Light, a proud history of service to the nation in time of conflict. Troops from the 29th Division landed at Omaha Beach in Normandy on D-Day. It is the only light division in the reserve forces. The division motto is 29, let's go.
Several military units open up now throughout the Commonwealth. Fort A.P. Hill, Sandston, and right here in Richmond as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll look with me west, you'll see a formation of helicopters approaching the Capitol. These aircraft will fly over National Guard aviation units located at Sandston, Virginia. American Army got close to the RQH-1 or Huey helicopters. Company E-224 aviation, commanded by Major Kenneth R. Baker. That formation commands the 4 Flag Headquarters, 229th Engineer Battalion, Virginia Army National Guard, from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel E. Long, Jr., Commander. Richard A. Dawson, Jr., Command Sergeant Major.
Flyovers, parades, lots of meeting inaugurals have come a long way over the past 100 years
There hasn't always been a parade.
David L.
First inaugurals were held without such pomp and ceremony as this. There hasn't always been a ball. The first parade
Stonewall Brigade
was for the inauguration of Frederick Holliday in 1878. Governor Holliday wanted a parade, so they had one. Then in 1886, a few years later, the parade was eliminated. The opinion was, let's get rid of the parade, let's have an inaugural ball. So they did that. And then in 1890, they brought the parade back. Everybody loved the parade, and now we've kept them all, as far as I know.
National Guard, Roanoke, Virginia. Major Charles W. Wright III, Commander.
I think the inaugural committee yesterday, the expense of this weekend, it's something like $500,000 to $1 million for all of the various parties and galas and the ball.
Of course, the state only pays for the inauguration ceremony itself, which is some $150,000.
The actual swearing in portion, yes.
All of the other stuff is privately paid for.
Well, they expect to take in a tiny little sum from the sale of tickets at $50 to $700 a piece.
Well, $2,500, I think some people are paying for some of those positions.
For some of those boxes, yes, 10 seats to a box. And a crowd that will just spill out of the Coliseum into a tent, 25,000 square foot tent in Festival Park.
Yeah, it was made necessary in part because the Richmond Center was not available due to an Amway convention. But that, needless to say, was scheduled a long time ago before we knew that L. Douglas Wilder was going to become governor. That is a presumption on my part, but presumptions are sometimes right.
Now, I always mention that he is not the first governor to go into office without a first lady. There have been 4 or 5 who have been single or widowed at the time they took office or at some point during their
Yes, that's true. As during the campaign, it was noted that of the 6 statewide candidates, only one was mayor at the time.
The lieutenant governor.
That being Don Meyer. But if we look back in history, Patrick Henry in 1776 was a widower. He married later. Light Horse Harry Lee in 1791. His wife died in childbirth right before the inauguration. But he married again while he was in office. Both Patrick Henry and Harry Lee married in office.
Virginia Army National Guard from Richmond, Virginia. Lieutenant Colonel Robert D. Young, Commander. James K. Bishop, Jr., Command Sergeant Major.
James Kemper in 1874 was a widower. He had 6 children who lived in the governor's mansion. John Pollard in 1930, his wife died a year after the inauguration, and he married his secretary 2 years later. And then Frederick Holiday in 1879.
Division Artillery, Virginia Army National Guard from San
widowed twice.
Colonel Terry J. Tyler,
and did not remarry while gone.
Robert A. Eldridge, Command Sergeant Major.
It used to be that divorce was the kiss of death for politicians.
Yes, certainly.
Ronald Reagan helped to change all that. He was the first divorced president.
Well, that was an issue with Nelson Rockefeller.
That's right.
Virginia Army National Guard from Danville, Virginia. Lieutenant Colonel
After that,
William H. Powell,
laid to rest in the public mind.
Lowell T. Ferguson.
Then we went on to John Kennedy, can a Catholic be elected president?
That's right.
Then that was laid to rest in the public mind. And
Douglas Wilder has laid another old
he's
truism
laid another one to rest. That's right. That's right. I think that someday, Larry, you and I may be quoted on that progression, don't you think?
As the governor took the oath of office, he was joined by his 3 children, Larry Jr., who practices at his father's law firm, and a lot of people have been talking about a political career for him. And his daughters, Lynn and
Virginia Army National Guard from Richmond, Virginia.
The U.S. Postal Service in Washington.
Lieutenant Colonel Wayne F. Stevens, Commander. Thomas Yeager, Command Sergeant Major. Battery B of this battalion fired the 19-gun salute that you heard a few minutes ago.
No, they were in law school. One was undergraduate, one was in law school. But the undergraduate did take some government, I'm happy to say.
Governor Wilder majored in chemistry when he was at Virginia Union. As far as I know, he never became a chemist. He was a mail carrier, and he was a technician in the medical examiner's office.
Light Artillery Blues, Headquarters 1st Battalion, 111th Field Artillery, Virginia Army National Guard, Norfolk, Virginia.
Met Henry Norris
L. Young III,
Howard, they were roommates.
Kenneth Ford, Command Sergeant Major.
And both came back to Richmond and established their law careers. Wilder passed the state bar on his first attempt and became the first black attorney to open up shop in Churchill.
Right. Wilder, Gregory, and Merton, the name of the firm. Married Eunice Montgomery.
Headquarters 170th Engineer Group, Virginia Army National Guard from Richmond, Virginia. Colonel Larry E. Gilman, Commander. Charles R. Godsey, Command Sergeant Major.
A governor who used to shine shoes, wait tables.
We have our own Horatio Alger in Virginia.
Political Horatio Alger, absolutely.
In fact, he noted at the time when he started his law practice and was doing cases here in Virginia, at that time, even lawyers were segregated in the courtroom. And of course, he helped fight the battle with the Supreme Court to do away with courtroom segregation.
This battalion traces its history back to the first Virginia Regiment,
Jackson would not
organized
that he had not been invited. That apparently was not true because Jesse Jackson is very much here. And
you could hear the crowd cheer when he arrived.
Yes, he got a reaction from them. He certainly did.
I think he wanted to keep an eye on his potential rival.
Headquarters Troop Command, Virginia Army National Guard from Richmond, Virginia.
Talk like that is never premature anymore.
W. Johnson Jr., Commander. William K. Thompson, Command Sergeant Major.
Andrew Young, the outgoing mayor of Atlanta, taking note of Doug Wilder's position on political issues, the death penalty being one, reportedly changed his opinion on the death penalty as he is looking forward to possibly run for governor of the state of Georgia.
That's right. I think the Wilder campaign is going to end up being the model for statewide black campaigns throughout the country. You know, this next year, blacks are gearing up to run not just in Georgia, but also South Carolina and possibly in other states. So Wilder may have governorships. So Wilder may have started a trend. We'll have to see.
Well, he ran, Larry, a brilliant campaign. The big issue was abortion. Once again, here at the inaugural, that's the only one that brought the crowd forth.
From Fort A.P. Hill,
he handled it.
Major Thomas
Whether you are for abortion or against abortion, the way he phrased his position appealed to both sides in a way.
Absolutely.
He made it the people's choice.
He made it the people's choice, which appealed to the libertarian, which is the conservative, politically conservative view to some extent.
Exactly.
Don't violate a human being's right by the government. And so that had a double-pronged appeal.
That's exactly right. By coming out for abortion rights, he gained the support of liberals. By phrasing it in a libertarian way, he won the support of conservatives. It was a brilliant way to phrase it.
192nd Tactical Fighter Group, Lieutenant Colonel Wilbur E. Rose, Commander, Edgar A. Waldron, Senior Master Sergeant.
You talked about some of the Jesse Jackson being here, and there were a number of notable people, very well-known, influential people invited. Bill Cosby, Barbara Streisand.
There was a lot of talk, but they didn't show.
At least they didn't make it to the gala last night.
And I didn't see them here. I didn't see Bill Cosby or Barbara Streisand, or there were a number of other pleasant people to replace them.
They expressed their support financially, and that was a big help. They did in a big way.
Cosby gave what, $100,000?
$100,000. Streisand donated $1,000.
More importantly, for Wilder's national reputation, this was the largest contingent of news media personnel ever at a Virginia inaugural. There's never been one even close to this. All over the world, they were here to show this abroad and in all the other states of the Union.
And the spotlight will shine tomorrow and Monday morning on the national media. On Sunday, Wilder will appear with David Brinkley, along with James Earl Jones and General Colin Powell, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Some talk that General Powell might have come.
They flew kind of close.
They did it much quicker than the helicopters did.
This unit's mission includes periodic deployments to protect the Panama Canal zone.
Wilder still addressing the crowd.
The Virginia Union University Marching Band Director, Mr. Gregory McCallum, Drum Major Melanie Boyd.
The Panthers of Virginia Union. Union is where Wilder got his degree in chemistry.
Undergraduate degree, that's right. There go the planes. They may be coming back around. I don't know.
You might mention that Union is in the process of constructing a learning resource center, and it will be named in Wilder's honor.
Wilder, of course, is a Democrat, and except to appear between 1970 and 1982, Holton, Godwin, and Dalton, the Republicans have not had a big act going here in Richmond. Larry?
No, they've had 3 straight shutouts. It's been a long, dry spell for them, and frankly, with Beyer and Terry in the wings, it looks like the dry spell is going to continue unless they can come up with somebody who's strong between now and 1993. I know that was horrible to mention 1993 on Inauguration Day, 1990, but...
Well, I doubt that you're the only one thinking thoughts like that, given the personnel we had on the VIP platform up here.
Washington Union Band. I think all of the faculty and staff at Union turned out for the inaugural. They're so proud that one of their own is governing the Commonwealth.
Let's go down to Jim Babb. I understand he has a guest. Jim, where are you in that sea of humanity?
I've got a great view of the parade, and with me is another man with a great view of the parade, a Republican, here to add a little bipartisan attitude to this event, Senator John Warner. Senator, what did you think of Governor Wilder's speech?
I thought it was a very fine speech, and I'm looking forward to working with him. I've known him a long time, and I I want Governor Wilder to succeed, because to the extent he succeeds, all Virginians benefit.
Do you think that now that the election is behind us, that all Virginians can get behind Doug Wilder? It was a very close election.
Politics are behind us now. We're united, and we want to work on behalf of all Virginians.
Thank you, Senator, for being here. Thank you, Gina Sabrina.
We're talking about the press attention that this inaugural has gotten. Tomorrow, Wilder appears on David Brinkley's show, and then on Monday morning, he's on two morning news shows, CBS and ABC.
Joint ROTC Color Guard, University of Virginia, Captain Daniel P. Franks, Commander.
The Attorney General, Mary Sue Terry, got her law degree from the University of Virginia. She served 5 terms in the Virginia House of Delegates before going on to higher office.
Hot coffee for the governor. He continues to review the parade.
Coming up shortly will be the Bisons of Howard University in Washington, D.C. Where Governor Wilder obtained his law
From
degree.
Washington, D.C., the Howard University Marching Band. Band Director, Richard F. Lee. Band Leader, Don Newsom. Drum Majors, Joseph Anderson and Bernard Jackson.
How well he does it, and I think he's keenly aware of that. It's one thing to be elected, but he's got to be a good governor.
He's got one clear advantage. You know, he has more experience in the General Assembly than any governor since Bill Godwin. And he's going to have to work very closely with the General Assembly on this fiscal crisis. And of course, there are some wonderful people in the General Assembly, but some of them can be rather difficult to work with. So,
I've heard that.
So the fact that he has a good working relationship with many of them should help.
And he has picked some very experienced people to work with him on his cabinet.
Yes, the cabinet has received rave reviews for the most part.
The mainstream cabinet.
The mainstream cabinet. It's, his word mainstream is being used a lot these days.
People who know the ropes of state government and have expertise in budgets will come in handy.
The new mainstream, I believe he called it in his address. Speaking of Jay Shropshire, is a very smart move, I think. I mean, who knows the state government, the internal workings of it better than Shropshire?
That's right, that's right. He's an able fellow, and he understands political maneuvering well. And you must maneuver to survive in politics.
Virginia Military Institute.
He has a similar personality to Wilder in a way, kind of low-key, easygoing.
And both of them play their cards very close to the vest.
Regimental Commander and Staff, Commander Cadet First Captain Charles F. Flakeman from Midlothian, Virginia.
This is a military parade. You will not see floats, you will not see clowns and funny animals and little cars running around trying to not hit each other. It is a military parade. It is fitting. Some of these units, VMI unit, have been here
1st Battalion Commander and Staff,
forever.
Commander Cadet Captain R. Scott Spellmeyer from Loudonville, New York.
Head slightly cocked toward the governor.
Company A, commanded by Cadet Captain Mike Michael A. Manning from Lexington, Virginia.
They used to drive here in a bus years ago, and it took forever.
Company B, commanded by Cadet Captain Larry G. Riddick, Jr. from Taft, Virginia.
In addition to
There's
the
a nice
military
shot.
units, oh, that is beautiful. You will see numerous high school and college.
Company C,
colleges
commanded by
represented
Cadet
their
Captain
bands.
Matthew R. Jimenez from Vista, California. Virginia Military Institute Regimental Band, Band Company Commander, Cadet Captain Mark W. McSwain from Wilmington, North Carolina.
I'm not sure to what extent we can hear the public address announcer behind us, Sabrina, but
Coming up,
we can hardly hear anything else. Is that what we heard just now? Okay.
we have the Spartans from Norfolk State University coming up in just a moment.
Second Battalion, Commander and Staff, commanded by Cadet Captain David S. West from
Very
Boca
large
Raton,
contingent
Florida.
from VMI.
Company D, commanded by Cadet Captain William P. Donahue from Portland, Maine.
A couple of other notes in the way of background about our new governor. We've heard time and time again that he is the grandson of slaves, but he's one of 10
Company E,
children.
commanded by
Robert
Cadet Captain William J. Ballard
Wilder,
of Dunwoody,
the
Georgia.
youngest. There are 4 sisters still living, 2 in Michigan, 1 in North Carolina, and 1 here in Richmond, in Maymont, and they were all here to watch their baby brother.
You know, I think the story on Doug Wilder, a lot of it's got to go to his mom, Miss Beulah, they call her.
Yes, they would not dare call her anything else but Miss.
She was a no-nonsense lady.
They stressed high achievement for their kids. Wilder was required to learn a new word every day. His mother was an avid worker of crossword puzzles. She made sure her son enlarged his vocabulary, and look where it got him.
It has suited him well. He's excellent with his tongue. Speak fluently, carefully,
Third Battalion,
tactfully.
Commander and Staff, commanded by Cadet Captain Charles E. Ellis from Claremont, Virginia.
Once again, that shot of the parade from the top of the state office building as they come into Capitol
Company
Square.
G, commanded by Cadet Captain William T.
The
Arnold,
crowd has thinned out
Fort Worth,
considerably,
Texas.
but there are still hundreds, probably thousands of people still here.
The crowd has dwindled now to a normal inauguration crowd almost, Larry. That's right. And this was not.
More than you normally
Commanded by Cadet Captain Timothy B.
May well
Quick
be.
from Winchester, Virginia.
This was not a normal inauguration. I'll be interested to see the police estimates of the crowd. Someone will throw out a figure and we'll all seize upon it as if it were great truth. And the bigger it is, probably the better we will like it. But that's what happens. I don't know how you count a crowd like this. I guess you take little segments and count them in a little segment and multiply the segments or something. I don't know.
Company I, commanded by Cadet Captain Mark K. Cumby from Gainesville, Georgia.
A lot of companies with this unit from VMI.
This, of course, was one of the, in the final year or two of the Belial's administration, VMI reminds us of one of the issues Governor Belial's kind of got in trouble with, or political trouble anyway, on the issue of whether women should be allowed to enter that institution.
He was in favor of it.
Doug Wilder nicely sidestepped.
He did. I was turning to you to recall what he did. I don't remember his particular words on it, but he finessed his way right on by that one somehow.
He realized that if you do not stir the hornet's nest of VMI, not during an election campaign, but it will undoubtedly be raised again at some point in time. When, we don't know.
I believe he said it was something that the Board of Visitors should decide.
Right.
That's right, and the issue will come back perhaps. Shot of Old City Hall from over at the state capitol. I believe that is from the pool camera. A pool camera is a camera that somebody puts up, and then anyone who is broadcasting the event may take a tap from it, and that is what we did. That is our camera once again. The governor continuing.
Norfolk State University Spartans Legion.
And the Norfolk State Spartans are coming into view in just a moment.
Emery L. Fears, drum majors Garland Turner and Kevin Dees.
The parade route comes through Capitol grounds and goes out to the left side of the mansion. I've never been out that way, Larry. I don't know whether you have or not. I don't know where it goes, but...
It winds around Governor Street, doesn't it?
Well, I didn't realize there was a gate there, but obviously there is.
Closed and locked.
Yes, it's not a normal access. Going actually into the gate in front of the governor's mansion and go around to the side of the house. It is not an enormous layout as governor mansions go. It's been refurbished several times. There have been a few fires here and there. And we're without a lot of information on how the old governor moves out and the new one comes in, but it happens quickly. There may be minions running in and out the back door right now carrying things in and out. I don't know, Larry.
Well, there's also a tradition in Virginia of old governors and outgoing press secretaries and others leaving the incoming people gifts and notes at various and sundry places. So we'll have to find out what, if anything, Governor Belial's left Governor Wilder.
Especially interesting after a change in party election, I suppose. So most of the furniture was moved out yesterday, and there was a report in the paper the other day that the Belials had given a lot of their clothes to some of the shelter services in Richmond, rather than just pack them in boxes and take them away. They will be put to good use that way.
The governor did take his chair out of the office. He was quiet moving it out, putting it onto a truck.
Some things you just don't trust anyone else with.
No, a good chair that feels comfortable. You want to have that around.
And it has felt comfortable at least 3 of the 4 years.
The United States Army Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps of Cadets from Richmond, Virginia. Commander, Cadet Colonel Patrick R. Jones. Band Director, Mr. Tom Clark. Band Leader, Cadet Captain Win Golding. Drum Major, Cadet First Sergeant Paul Nagel.
Cadet Corps from Cadet 18 here in
The stands behind the VIP stands are virtually empty now. Obviously, most of the people who were so fortunate as to get those fine seats did not come to see the parade.
There's, of course, a luncheon schedule in the executive mansion, and then a series of receptions this afternoon. 2 of them on private affairs for dignitaries and families, and then another reception for General Assembly members. The public reception begins here at 3:45 this afternoon. Anyone can get in line to congratulate.
How that's going to be handled. Of course, it is a tradition in the old Senate chamber. The governor will receive the public, and that means you, me, anybody. But he could not receive the public that was here today. The line's got to be longer.
Until they wear out.
The line would have to be longer than for the Millen Road Santa Claus, and for 10 years running, I suppose. So we'll see how long that lasts, but...
It'll have to end at least by 8, because that's when the ball starts. He's expected there. 8 or 9.
The Coliseum is not equipped to handle all of the people that will be attending the ball tonight. So there's this enormous tent erected in Festival Park, which adjoins the Coliseum. There will be music in the Coliseum.
Montgomery County Combined High School Marching Band Director Dr. Diana Love, and leaders Lisa Linkus from Auburn High School, Stacy Hunt and Kim Fiola from Blacksburg High School, Candy Reed from Christiansburg High School, Melissa Atkins and Sharon Hale from Jonesville High School.
Montgomery County Combined High Schools Marching Band. I would have guessed, Sabrina, that in Montgomery County they combine the high school marching band and called it that, wouldn't you think?
I think that's the way it works. They're pretty in that blue.
That's my guess. All County Marching Band.
Virginia State University Marching Band from Petersburg, Virginia. Band Director Harold Hoven. Drum Major Kurt Hampton.
Virginia State's Trojan Band is coming through.
Explosion.
We hear a cheer go up from the crowd. Virginia State just down the road, of course, and obviously some alumni here.
They won a lot of honors and noted for their brilliant, bold sound.
This is approximately 3/4 of the way through the parade now. Just a few more units to go. Coming up next, the Hampton University Marching Band. Marching Force Band. This is settled in to be just the most perfect day you could have for this. It's not cold. I've taken off my gloves. Sabrina, you've taken off yours.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, the Virginia State University Marching Band from Petersburg, Virginia.
Virginia State is not really in Petersburg, Sabrina.
It is actually in Ettrick.
Ettrick. But that, I think, is sometimes a sensitive connection that some people make or do not make, and I would have been better served to have left it alone.
Well, it's a fact. They can't accuse you of telling an untruth.
Ettrick, right across the Appomattox from the city of Petersburg.
We talked a little about the new governor and some of his background, some of his hobbies, bridge, golf, tennis, horseback riding. A little bit about the Attorney General, Mary Sue Terry. She has 2 younger sisters who are here today with her. Her second term as Attorney General. And she, in June, will assume office as President of the National Association of Attorney Generals. And I thought this was interesting. The Attorney General is a gourmet cook. She loves to get in the kitchen and whip up things. Of course, it doesn't show. But and she's an avid gardener as well.
I don't know how much cooking she might have done for the last 4 years, because I'm sure she had most of it prepared for her.
Yeah, she cooked up more than $1 million in the election, though.
Yes, she did.
First candidate ever to do that.
The new face here today, of course, is Donald Byer. We've referenced him several times. He's 39 years of age. Married to Megan Byer.
Former anchorwoman.
Yes, she was a newswoman in Northern Virginia. They have been married about 2 years. He met her as he was working for the Belial's campaign in Northern Virginia a few years ago. And he has 2 children from a previous marriage, Donnie, 14, and Stephanie, 9. The thing that sticks out in my mind about
Hampton University
Byer
Marching Band from Hampton, Virginia.
Academically.
Perfect 800 and Robert Lamson.
Perfect score.
1,600 on the graduate record.
He,
like Archimedes, he's a smart guy.
Yes, a National Merit Scholar with an invitation to Harvard.
Yes, but he chose to go to Williams College and received a BS in economics instead of going to Harvard.
He is an avid outdoorsman who loves to hike and has scaled several mountains across the country, and likes to run too. And apparently that holds true for many in his family.
I think the most useless piece of information I researched was he has an uncle named Stuart McDonald, who is a former captain of the Olympic water ski team and the first man to water ski barefoot in 1944.
hardy man. I guess some of that toughness and hardiness.
Well, it occurred to me that near the end of the parade, I might need that fact, and it certainly comes to my aid at this time. He has 4 sisters, 1 brother. Don Beyer is the oldest of his family and owns a Volvo dealership in Falls Church. He himself lives in Vienna. Getting down to the last few units now of this parade, and it will end approximately 2 o'clock, as was the estimate. Things have run pretty close on time today. The proceedings started just a few moments late, but then the governor's speech, which is an uncontrolled factor in any schedule, was a little shorter than other speeches have been in the past. The days of long, ornate oratory, the oratory is still ornate, but the speeches aren't as long. I think the attention spans are generally shorter than they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I don't know what televisions had to do with that. Probably something.
Yes, some of the inaugural addresses from the last century ran up to an hour, even over an hour. Those sorts of orations were considered to be the norm. So I consider ourselves fortunate.
I wanted, probably with you 8 years ago, to say to Governor Robb in those 19 degrees, this is a good day to cut out that next paragraph and the next 3 pages or something like that. That was a matter of personal comfort at that time.
Montrose,
It was just so
Virginia.
cold. Just so
Band
cold.
director Ronald Myers, Flag Corps leader Darrell Martin, drum majors Jennifer Mothershead, Crystal Newman, Michelle Ortman, and Charles Johnson.
Washington and Lee High School Eagle Marching Band. Participants in the inaugural parade are chosen for various reasons. Sometimes it's tradition, sometimes it's quality of the unit, and sometimes, of course, the recognition of where the elected officials' homes and sympathies lie. And so that is the combination of this 33-unit parade that we have with us here today.
They come from all over, though, and reflect that broad base.
Yes. The next one we will be seeing comes from Nelson County, the Nelson County High School Marching Governor's Band, Livingston, Virginia. Up in hilly country.
That they all, Wilder does, in a way, have a connection with all of these units during his campaign. He traveled to every city and town in the Commonwealth.
That was, some say, a very, very effective move he made early in the campaign to go to Southwest Virginia, well before the cold strike.
Nelson County High School Marching Governor from Livingston, Virginia. Band director, Mr. Timothy A. Gordon. Band leaders, Mark Ferris, Clive Harris, Jonathan Page, and Janine Swirt. Drum majors, Rebecca Wood and Jenny Martin.
I wonder if members of the Nelson County High School Marching Governor's Band say, Governor, you're not looking at us. Turn around. They probably have prepared and rehearsed for this day, as all of the bands have, for weeks. And when it comes their time to go past the podium, they want the governor to be watching. That's the reason they're here.
Of course, Governor Wilder was being asked by virtually every member of the VIP stands to sign their program. They want to make sure it's even more valuable 50 or 100 years hence.
Coming in to the grounds today, Sabrina, we saw so many souvenirs, and I don't remember people selling me pictures of Gerald Belial 4 years ago.
No.
With buttons and this and that and the other.
But first time ever.
Doug Wilder is considered an event, and there were hucksters on the sidewalk. That's right. And I'll bet they had a good day. I bet they
We
sold
know
some
Jim
things.
Babb bought one.
Yeah, because he showed it on camera a little while ago.
But the programs they went fast. We tried to get another one.
The
They were gone early.
They were hard to come by. The Central Senior High School Marching Charges Band from Victoria, Virginia. Victoria, beautiful rural town on the south side of Virginia. Has the nicest little restaurant. I'm trying to think the name of it. And I shouldn't have said that because I can't think of the name of it. Most
I've
of
heard
these
you
towns.
mention it.
Well, I like to go to these towns, and each town has its own flavor. The little restaurants on Main Street or near Main Street.
People are so warm.
The people are so warm. The food is so good, and it's not Richmond prices. You get such good food at such reasonable prices. It reminds me.
Such hefty portions.
Yes, it reminds me that I don't need that, but that there are values to be had. I remember one in Lunenburg County where we just didn't want to leave.
Lunenburg from Victoria, Virginia. Band director, Mr. Dennis M. Steed. Drum major, Taylor Leonard Whitehead.
The band in Lunenburg County has always been a good band. The football team has been good. They emphasize that there, and people that don't know much else about Lunenburg County will frequently be able to tell you something about Central Lunenburg, the band, the football
They
team, the
always win their
basketball team.
division championship.
They go on the
like
field
that.
to win, and they have a record to prove they mean it. They've been very successful for many, many years. Glad to have them here in Richmond today, and we're glad it's not raining on them. And us.
A lot of the people who are assembled here will go on to attend the ball tonight at the Coliseum. About 12,500 of them at least.
You know, it's my impression that the ball is something many people want to go to, not because they will enjoy it like they would a good meal or a fine movie, but it's another piece of this that they want to take up and say, yes, I was there.
I was there.
I was there, I saw it, I remember it. No, it was not a lot of fun. There were too many people. I think that's what happened here on Capitol grounds today. There were thousands and thousands of people. It was not comfortable. They stood here for hours, but they wanted a piece of it in their memory. And I think it was worth the effort.
Usually if you come at 11 o'clock or so, you can get a pretty good standing room place. But today, if you weren't here by 10, it was very difficult to see.
Well, we had press passes to come into this place, and even with that, it was difficult to get in because there was no room to move through, Larry, as you know, as you came in. The John Handley High School Judges Marching Band from Winchester, Virginia, in the northern neck of the Shenandoah Valley. Which I still think, Larry, is the prettiest country in the world.
Absolutely. Except for Charlottesville.
I think it's pretty.
The John Handley High School Marching Band from Winchester, Virginia. Band director Steve Lawrence. Drum major Chris Williams.
Apple country. Getting up close to bird territory.
That's right. It's the heart of birdland for so many years in Virginia. We aren't that far removed from the bird era. There were still a couple of bird governors here today. Former Governor Mills Godwin, former Governor Albertus Harrison.
Jim Babb, I understand, is still in the crowd meeting interesting people. Jim, identify your location. Tell us who you're talking to. Jim, do you hear me?
Well, it's nice to know. It's pretty noisy down here, Gene and Sabrina, and the people here in the crowd are happy to be here. You're from Williamsburg, are you not?
Red Cross.
Mildred Redcross.
Yes, from Williamsburg.
Well, I have a soft spot in my heart for Williamsburg. That's where my mom lives. You made the trip today. What do you think about what you've seen here today?
I think this is making history. My major is history, and this is making history. I've taught for 37 years. History was my major. This has done a lot for Virginia. We couldn't have ever had a better thing to happen. It would be a change in the whole world because of this.
You think Doug Wilder is going to be a good governor?
Oh, excellent, excellent. He's God-made. He's sent.
You think he should run for national office, president or vice president?
Indeed so. He's fully capable. Fully capable.
Okay, well, I'm sure he'll be looking you up for a campaign contribution later on.
I've been sending contributions all the time. That's the reason I'm in this area. Because I've been sending contributions.
That's great. That's great. Well, it's nice to have you here. Here's a Richmonder over here. Your name is Charlie Brown, right?
Charlie Brown, it is, right.
Charlie, what do you think about what you've seen here today?
Everybody loves the parade. I've certainly enjoyed this. It's been fabulous.
What do you think about Governor Wilder's speech?
I thought it was a very good speech. I wish him the best. He's got a lot to do. Be a good governor.
It's going to be an interesting 4 years.
It'll be a fantastic 4 years.
Okay. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
And it's nice to be here myself. And the sun is quite nice. Gina, Sabrina, I think you've got some sun up where you are, don't you?
It feels good. It is a glorious day. You know, I thought one of the real significant moments in this ceremony was after Wilder took the oath of office, retired U.S. Supreme Court Judge Lewis Powell said, "This is a great day for Virginia."
That comes full circle from the man who presided over the Richmond School Board as president in years when Doug Wilder could not attend so many public facilities, including the public schools.
He had to go to law school out of state.
Could not go to law school in state. It's true. Denby High School Marching Patriot Band from Newport News, Virginia has moved through your screen. It will be followed by the John I. Burton High School Marching Raiders Band from Norton, Virginia. We're spanning the state with the finest bands. If you have been watching the VIP stand and noticed the absence of Governor Belial, he, of course, left immediately after the new governor was sworn in, that's tradition, Larry, for the governor just to sneak away at that time.
Just to steal away so that he doesn't step on his successor's precious
John I. Burton High School Marching Band,
the governor
band director, Bud Stewart, drum major,
Drew the speech on television. And certainly he watched it right here on Channel 12, and we thank him for that. John I. Burton High School Marching Raiders Band from Norton, Virginia. Here they come. We mentioned them a moment ago, and they're coming through your screen at this time.
Governor Wilder and Lieutenant Governor Byer broke with tradition. They didn't wear the top hat.
No. It's a matter of preference. I guess we see fewer top hats.
Virginia Beach Police Department's mounted patrol from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Officer in charge, Sergeant D. Lohman.